Hey, it's Andy Burns, editor-in-chief of Biff Bam Pop, and very lucky to be hanging out with two gentlemen. The first is the director of Nothing Left to Fear, Anthony Leonardi. I'm saying your name correctly? All right.
Got it.
As along with a young up-and-coming producer that I think he's going to go far, Slash. How are you, man?
Good.
So, first off, we're talking about Slasher Films, your new production company, and we're talking about Nothing Left to Fear, which I gotta say, loved it. And not just saying it because you guys are here and the cameras are rolling. I really, I watched it the other night, and one of the things I dug about it is it feels old school in a good way. Not like a retro feel, but it's like it's not a gory horror flick. It relies more on suspense and some cool effects. But it's not like a Saw film. And those films have their place, but it's really different from what's been out there a lot. And so, let me ask you first, because it's, your first foray into film. What was the appeal of this particular film to you?
It was just a story that when I read through the script, I thought, this is, it grabbed my attention, and I was like, I love the young family, being lured into this small town, by this sort of older priest. And I love this sort of innocence of the family and this diabolical fucking environment that they just got into. And I love that, and I love the turn for Mary and becoming this less than human demon that's out to has to satiate the blood, satiate the hunger of the demonic entity by killing her own family. Just all that just seemed like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I love the fact that Stull actually had a real background.
I wanted to talk to you guys about that because I never heard of it before.
I hadn't either.
Me neither. Right? So how did you guys discover it? I guess it comes from the scripts. But
it was just one of a handful of scripts that I was looking at that my producing partner had given to me and said, see if you see anything that you like. And it had already written. And it was called Stull at the time, or it was something about Stull.
Yeah.
Right? And
based on or something.
And that was it. And I was like, okay.
Makes it even creepier, right? Because it's like this real place.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really, when you look it up online though, it's this like really tiny place, a church on a hill, and that's it. But there's all these weird rumors and posts online.
That's what I read.
Yeah, you read that, or like what band? Yeah, what band? The Cure wouldn't play.
Really? Wow.
It's one of those things you read, it's weird, but it's like we want to treat it like an environment. Like if you shot in Toronto or you shot in Los Angeles, like just keep it at the background and not make it the forefront. Because I feel like that would have hurt the movie too much. So it's great that that's the basis for the legend.
And you get a little bit more of a reward if you kind of like choose to look into it a little bit more, right?
Yeah. I think it's really entertaining stuff. You go, the first thing I did when I heard about it was go online and actually see all this stuff. And I've gone back and looked at it because there's a lot of information. And just the other night, I was really looking farther and farther into it, and I was finding out new stuff that I hadn't seen the previous times.
Wow.
And so I found out stuff about the second graveyard. There's one famous graveyard that's out in the open. It's in the middle of the town. And they fence it off to keep people from partying in there and doing any kind of religious or satanic rituals in there. But there's another older graveyard which is off the beaten path that goes back to the 1700s, and all the gravestones are really classic old gravestones. And there's more backstory to the church from way back, a couple of hundred years ago. And as people are speculating, is there any truth to it? I'm like, all this intrigue in this poor little town, and it's almost like, well, the origins had to start from somewhere. It wasn't just some drunk college students that spread this rumor and turned this town into the seventh gateway to hell.
Right.
So it's actually fascinating.
And so when you decide to start a film company, when you Slasher Films, like how did you find the script, I guess? Because you mentioned that you were looking through a bunch of different scripts and everything. So how does that process begin for you?
I don't even know the answer to that one. Initially, Slasher Films is piggybacking off of another production company.
Okay.
So whatever materials they were getting, they've produced a few horror movies themselves. Session 9 was one of their production companies. Trans-Siberian came from there. So they get their fair share of scripts. So they were feeding me scripts at the time. And that's how this basically really really started. And now I'm looking for other source material from all different directions, trying to figure out how I want to do the next one.
Nice. And how did you get involved, Anthony?
I got the script from a agent or producer, and then read it, and it was one of those ones where I've been reading a lot of scripts, and the movie just popped right off the page. And it was tricky because the original script was much more of a slasher movie, and then going into a meeting with Slasher Films, I was a little afraid, but I went in, I did a bunch of work on it, and said, look, this is the kind of movie I wanted to make, and it was funny because we had the exact same taste in, the era of 70s horror films.
Right.
And we didn't say we're going to make a 70s horror, we just said we're going to make more of so what's great about 70s horror is they're movies and then they turn into a horror element.
Absolutely.
It's not like at 5 pages the cat's going to jump through the window, and at page 10 this is going to happen. It's just the story happens and then it slowly twists into something different. And so that's kind of what we really want to go after. Make something that was, then you're much more haunted because you believe it. You believe this is a family. It's not the bitchy girl, and it's not the stereotypical family that we know what's going to happen to each member.
That was something that I really liked about the film too, because you take your time getting to know the family, and actually, whether it's like genre films or blockbusters or anything, one of the things I really dug about it was the fact that this felt like a real family. Like, I actually thought the interaction was really genuine and not not forced at all. Like, these guys seemed to have a real relationship, and it was written in a way that I'm like, I can relate to this family as you get to know them.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the great things is Anne Hesh and Jameson, they're actually really married, so they just have that natural sort of chemistry.
That's great. That's okay.
I think that influenced the kids,
Absolutely.
But that's what we wanted to develop. We wanted to establish a relationship between the viewer and the family, so that you not because of any reason other than that's the right thing to do.
It just felt right. Yeah.
What was the shoot like? How long was the shoot?
Oh man, it was fast. It was 20 days.
Wow.
20 days, and it's 20 days is good for a movie that takes place in one location. And without monster makeup and effects and everything that we did in ours, yeah. So.
Well, by the time we actually shot, we'd known each other for a good year.
Yeah.
And I went down to the set one day, and I'd never seen Anthony so stressed.
Well, it was just one of those adventures of everything changes when you're making a movie, but everything wasn't. You show up and it's all different, or so he would show up and I would be before shoot, and I'd go there an hour early and storyboard the whole day. This is what we're doing today, and but it was a lot. We shot exactly a movie. There's no extra scenes. There's no we weren't shooting 15 takes. It was 20 days fit exactly that movie you see up on the screen, which was it was the planning of okay, really because I board everything myself and I keep doing it over and over. So you really know the whole film. So if you lose this piece, you can lose this. So it was a fun 20 days. Yeah.
So what's that like for you? Because as I was thinking about what I was going to talk to you guys about, and I thought about life in the studio, or on the road. It's got to be kind of different. I guess I'm thinking more specifically life in the studio when you're recording an album. It's got to be different than going on and seeing a 20-day film shoot where everything is you're on that timeline.
Right. Well, I mean, interestingly enough, in this movie, I didn't go to the actual shoot because the shooting schedule kept getting backed up. I had a window. Right. And I kept getting backed up into the point where it was overlapping with my tour. So I only got to go down to the shoot for one day and one evening, So, but
in the middle of the craziness.
I came down for the neighborhood festival scene.
Oh, nice.
That whole day and night of But it's interesting being somebody who's touring all the time and in the studio, and then being around the film environment. There's nothing shocking for me. The transition is not that dramatic, but it's really interesting because it's a little bit more collaborative. Definitely a lot more cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about it that I really love, and it's probably just because I've had a serious passion for movies, especially horror movies, for as long as I can remember. So I love the idea of actually being involved and being behind the scenes and all that. And it's a creative side of my brain is also the same one that sort of does the music. So it all sort of seamlessly works together.
I mean, it's kind of good that way because I don't know how many musicians, lots of musicians make the jump to acting, which kind of makes sense because you live life, in front of an audience, and I can see that. But you don't often hear about a lot of musicians like going high profile in terms of trying to like make the jump from producer. So
there's nothing glamorous about being a producer, so I don't think that's appealing to most of musicians and singers that get into the film business. They want the sort of pizzazz of being a leading actor or a supporting actor or something. But I just love the idea of being able to produce, hopefully, a great movie.
Yeah.
Like really seeing a story and going, this is something that I can see on the screen and it appeals to me. And to be able to get the wheels in motion, to get it made and actually, deliver something that hopefully I would really like.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's a great film, and one of the reasons that I liked it too is it sort of touched on themes that I think are really fascinating for horror. Yeah, and it's really like the notion of spirituality and faith and religion to a certain extent, and you get like back to Rosemary's Baby and those sorts of flicks, right? I thought that the film had a bit of that Rosemary's Baby vibe to it, just like this group of people, and something not quite right is going on, and you learn about it as things go on. But I'm kind of curious from both of you, why is it those sorts of themes, like those sort of spirituality and religion, why do you think they still play so well in horror?
I think it's all relatable too. Horror I think represents like what's going on in the world when it's happening. Back more in the 70s, it definitely showed what was going on with different movements all over. And religion's always one of those very tumultuous things that some people from the outside are always looking in, and then some people from the inside are looking, and that's one of those things we wanted to do too. We didn't make it like evil religion.
Yeah.
It just is, and because it's like everyone looks outside, they go, that's evil, but the people inside the religion go, we're not evil. And the fact of this town, you don't know if they're bad, and at the end you go, wow, they're not bad. They're like angels. They actually know there's God and the devil, so it becomes a weird area.
And there's this thing about religion, about sort of our belief in God and this sort of mysterious Satan kind of, whatever the opposite of God is.
Yeah.
It's all, none of that shit's tangible. So it's all a big mystery. And that is part of the reason I think that religion is great for horror because, on one side you have sort of a godly kind of thing, but there's that opposite side. And neither one of them are necessarily real. There's something that exists in our minds. And so it's good and evil, and we love just playing those against each other because we can make up all kinds of stuff about it.
No limits.
I think it's one of the reasons why we get so obsessed about death, because that's the other mystery there, is that we all wonder what happens on the other side. I think it's part of human nature to be sort of constantly curious about what we don't know.
And scared.
Yeah, absolutely. Clancy Brown in the film.
Awesome.
So how did he wind up working with you guys?
We were looking at we needed somebody, a strong character to play Kinsman. And I never knew Clancy's name, but he's one of my favorite character actors. And we have a mutual friend, and I asked my friend about this guy in these different movies. He goes, that's Clancy Brown. Because I know him, I just did something with him. I said, well, just tell him about this movie, and I want him to see the script. And so Clancy called back, and I don't know if he called you to see the script or if he got it from Clifton or whatever, but he got the script, and he liked it. And that was one of the things I was really happy when it happened. And I thought that's some sort of a good omen.
That was great. And just meeting with him, he knew the character. It was like, he didn't come in and, because that character could easily be just an evil bad
and
guy.
he's totally
Clancy could do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that he comes in, when he came in and looked at the script, he goes, this is, there's a huge burden on my shoulders. He felt bad for the kid, like really felt bad for the kid. And it was just that character that knows he has something he has to do and he can't not do it.
Yeah.
And it's that weight that goes with it. So I think he was perfect.
Yeah, he really was fantastic. He completely nailed it.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty subtle performance too.
Yeah. I mean,
I think there's only that one scene, closer to the beginning of the film where he kind of rages out just a little bit, just briefly.
the hair,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just momentarily, and then he kind of keeps it even keel all the way, even though he's doing these things. that, you know, are not good for this particular family.
Yeah, you know, we never wanted the bad guy, the town to be bad guys. We never wanted like this family comes in, they love this family. I mean, the fact that
they're doing what they're going to do, right?
Yeah, they don't want to. I mean, if they could do anything but hurt this family, I think they would.
I mean, a good example of that is when Chris goes into the cat door, the doggy door.
Yeah.
And there's that family, and they have to push him outside. That was a great
Yeah.
part of it. And you can tell that they really would rather not have to put him out there, but to save their own family, they got to get this kid out of the house.
Absolutely.
There's that. I think that's a constant theme through the movie where you start to really understand that there's an empathy going on from the town people for the family that has to go through this, and they've been through it obviously before, and they know what has to happen, but every time it's hard.
You know, the genre fan of me who does occasionally enjoy like the soft films and like the harder R films. I was like, they killed the kid. Spoiler alert, they killed the kid. They killed the kid. I can't believe it. That's great. Like the context of the film. Because, you know, I think, you know, based on, you know, what you watch in you know, a lot of mainstream flicks, oh, the kid will make it out. Or maybe the kid's going to be the kid who, at the end of the film, is, you know, is the guy, like, killing the sheep. Those were the sorts of things that are a little bit in the back of my mind. So when he goes down, I'm like, wow, like, this is, you know, unexpected, which is, you know, the best thing that you could ask for in a horror film, right? Like,
and it's not gratuitous. I mean, and
exactly.
It's shocking. I mean, that's I think one of the most powerful moments. And it's one of those things like, yeah. I mean, I didn't want to. That was probably the hardest thing to shoot on the set too. Because, you know, his mom's next to me and we're watching this fake death happen. It's terrible. But it's the power of like that's the power of building this family and then deconstructing it, taking it apart. I mean, that's what makes this kind of story powerful.
Well, it totally
Not stereotypical.
Yeah,
which
that's
you know, because you know, doing a horror film, we knew is like you get put in a box.
Yeah.
And that box has gotten smaller over the years. Like in the '70s, like we love it. That box was you just make a movie and then throw some horror. It was all over, and the structures were all different. Now it's like you're in this cage, and things are coming at you. And we were just trying to go off center with every single one. So everything that was written, it was like this is the stereotype. Okay, well we're going to go this way with it, and just try and keep it so the audience is guessing but not getting boxed.
Right. So this will be out on October 8th on DVD. And so what is tentatively next for Slasher Films? Is there anything in the pipe right now?
I'm looking for new material. So I'm trying to find the next story, like something that, you know, that appeals to me. I've been using that word appeals a lot today. But I'm looking for something that grabs my attention and goes, this is something I can make, you know. And I'm dying to do a monster movie. So. Okay. But there's, you know, the good side is, you know, they're few and far between. So the process of elimination is a little easier. But the bad side is that there's only few and far between. You know, good stories like that.
So do you have to time out your schedule in terms of, let's say, like the next year and a half? Like, does, you know?
Well, my first and foremost priority is to do the record and do the tour. So. Even if I was to find a good script tomorrow, that whole development process takes a long time. And that's one of the good things about doing two things at once is the movie business is very slow.
Yeah.
You know? But I would map out time after the tour, between legs or whatever, to make sure that I can be there for that process for the movie. And some of it you can do both at the same time. You know, when this was being made, we were scoring the movie and while these guys were filming and sending me dailies, I was on the road. And after every show, I'd get back on the bus onto my computer and get to my room and sync up the reels for the music and all that kind of crazy. You know,
it's great. It's great that you're able to do both, right? Because you know, one doesn't have to suffer for the other.
No, I wouldn't be able to do it if I was a director, though.
Right.
Obviously,
So this is going to be part of our 31 Days of Horror, which is going to go all through October.
Awesome.
And so on that note, because this is leading up to Halloween and everything, I'd love it if you guys could each give one horror film recommendation that readers of Bit Fan Pop definitely have to check out at some point.
All right. Do you have one? I have one off the top of my head.
Go for it.
I always promote movies that I grew up with that I think are still sort of untouched by time. But one that not too many people know about is the abominable Dr. Phibes with Vincent Price. I think that's something. There's two of them. There's the first one, Dr. Faust Returns. The second one, they're both great, and they're both sick, and they're both very comical and twisted and fucked up. So yeah, you can find those.
Nice.
I'm gonna go with The Changeling. That's one of my
That's a good
favorite old haunted house movies. And The Changeling, and then everybody's seen Texas Chainsaw, but they should rewatch it. Well, the original.
Yeah,
The original.
It's so not a horror movie, but it's the creepiest movie I think.
It is really creepy.
Yeah, it is. The first time I saw it was a couple years ago, and I couldn't believe I was watching it.
The first
The first time I saw it, it was actually, well, you know Fan Expo that comes up here? So this was, I would guess like 5 years ago maybe. And they had they were showing it at one of the rec cinemas, and it was like a special print or whatever, and I'd never seen it before, and it really was like, it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Not in necessarily a great way, because I was like, during that dinner scene, man, I was sitting there so uncomfortable.
No, it's a weird movie, and like to see it in a theater. I've seen it in a theater twice.
I've never seen it.
It's so bizarre. I mean, it's just like the atmosphere is so thick in that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's another one where you have these college kids that are very relatable, and then they just go into basically it's a downward spiral.
And I don't get into it, but it's great. That kind of shit's great because you have these kids and they're innocent enough, and you feel and then there's no way out.
Yeah.
It's just
They're fucked no matter what.
Yeah, it's bad.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and congrats on the film. Like I said, it's a great movie, and congrats on the slasher films, and can't wait to see more from both of you.
Yeah, I'm excited about doing the next one.
Awesome. All right.
How was it for you?